Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I will show you how I inked and painted this cute little chestnut fairy house in a few simple steps. And this painting is actually a part of my series that I'm doing on my Patreon, Inktober series. So we are inking and painting different fairy houses, and if you do like ink and watercolors, well, you might want to check it out. There is a link in the description box. No obligations. Maybe at the end you decide to join in. There is still lots of time. But without further ado, let's get to our painting. Before I start with the inking, I do like to sketch my painting onto just a separate piece of paper, trace it onto watercolor paper, and then do the inking. The reason for that is because I don't like the smudges from the eraser, and also you can very easily ruin your paper when you are using a eraser on top of that watercolor paper. It's quite soft, it's quite delicate, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. When I do trace it onto the watercolor paper, I'm doing first the inking and just going over the lines that I already drew with my sketch. That's my first step, because I do like to keep myself focused, block everything on my paper, and then move on to the details. So now that I did do the basic inking, as I like to call it, I'm just doing the details, some shading, making some lines a little bit thicker, some lines leaving some a little bit thinner, stylizing overall my entire drawing and my entire inking work. So you can see me just scribbling with my ink pen, adding a bit more of the details. This is size A4 paper, just a little bit over A4. So I'm using A3 ink pen and 01 for the little bit more detailed work. Also adding some bedazzlement, adding some little bit more of the details to make it a little bit more magical. This is fairy house after all. So I like to add some dots and some just unexpected details onto my drawing. And again, just emphasizing some parts, adding a little bit more ink to parts that are in shadow, and as I said earlier, overall just stylizing my entire drawing. How you're going to do it just depends completely on you. I'm not cross-hatching, I'm not doing anything complicated on my sketch, just adding a little bit more ink, making lines thicker, leaving thinner, and that's the way that I like to actually stylize everything, because I am going to be adding watercolors on top of the ink. We don't have to go overboard and just draw every single details. We can leave a little bit more details also to the watercolors. And just to finish everything off, I'm adding a little bit more of the, as I like to call it, dirt. Just tilted my ink pen and scribbling on top of the paper, using that texture of the paper to create a little bit more details and some nicer effects. When I'm done with my inking, I'm moving on to watercolors. So with the watercolors, I like to start with the larger surfaces and just block them in. This one, I'm starting with green. First some olive green and then green. I am using White Nights for this painting, and a little bit more of the olive green. Some splatters, I do like looser look, so I did add a little bit more of the paint around the leaves to make it look like the paint bled, make it a little bit more looser. And for the chestnut, I'm using browns, also a little bit of the green. First doing the larger surfaces, topping in a little bit of the darker pigment, some sepia, to add in some shadows. And when I'm finished with those larger surfaces, I'm moving on to smaller objects, smaller details on my painting, and just starting with a lighter color, lighter wash, and then on top adding a little bit more pigment for some details and shading. I also do like to use a little bit contrasty colors to make some details pop up. And so you can see here, I did use green for larger surfaces and then red for just details, and how that red just pops up next to the green, and which is also her opposite color in a color wheel. And they just look very, very nice together. They just complement each other, and I like to do that. I like to add just the touches of opposite color and make those details pop a little bit. Some more of the splatters for, again, looser look. And I also decided to add a little bit more yellow on this corner. You can always go back, add more details, add more pigment where you think it's needed, completely up to you. And again, using that red to complement the greens. And a little bit of the cooler color for the windows, finishing everything off with the details. And just adding a bit more of the color to the parts that I do want to keep darker for the shadows. So as I mentioned, you can always go back, add a little bit more of the pigment when you finish everything. You have the overall vision of your painting, and just do more details if that is necessary. Finish off with those details. And with that, we were done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it was kind of helpful for you to have the idea how to do everything and how to start with your inking and then move on to the watercolors. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the like button, share it, comment. I would love to see your comments, what you think about it. And if you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. I have many tutorials here, and I'm sure you will find something for yourself. Check out my Patreon, Inktober on my Patreon. I'm sure you will also love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, for doing this with me, and I hope I will see you next time. Bye!